Welcome to another broadcast of Seven Figure Media. I want to thank our audience from over 50 countries who take the time to look at our program. I want to encourage you to continue doing so and continue to also write in and make special requests for guests that you would like to see. Today I have an exceptional talent in studio, and his name is Seth, and he's the brain behind Market Domination LLC. Seth is also an author, and he has built a successful brand, meaning he has built his business into a multiple seven-figure brand. And there's so much more about Seth that you don't want to miss, you want to know. So I want to encourage you to sit it, relax, and we will have Seth take us through his journey that he has used to position himself for greatness. Seth, great to have you here today.
It is great to be here, Gary. Thank you so much. I'm a big fan, and it's an honor to get to be on the show.
The pleasure is all mine. Seth, you have started Market Domination LLC over 26 years ago. Can you walk us through the vision behind the start of Market Domination LLC?
Absolutely. So I started out as a financial advisor, making 300 cold calls a day, interrupting strangers during dinner and asking them for money. And I hated that. I loved being a financial advisor. My area of specialty is college financial aid negotiation. So I loved doing the work, but I hated making 300 cold calls a day. I had the good fortune to find legendary marketing guru Dan Kennedy, who's written about 23 best-selling books. And I was able, after 30 days of nagging, I begged my wife 30 days in a row. Day 31, she let me borrow more than our house to go learn from Dan Kennedy. And she said, you better pray this works. So thank God it did. And at the Fortune 500 company I worked for at the time, there were 6,700 financial advisors. I was number 6,700. I was dead last. I was new and dead last. And in 2 years of working with Dan Kennedy, I was in the top 30 nationwide. And I was competing against advisors who had been in business twice as long as I'd even been alive. So this is all before the internet. This is all direct mail and print advertising. And I got written about in every trade journal in the industry back then. And financial advisors my phone started ringing literally off the hook with financial advisors. You couldn't Google back then. There was no Google. They literally had to get a phone book and track me down. And they're asking me how I grew like that and if I could help. So I sent a fax to Dan and I said, what do I do? And he said, you start a marketing firm and you do it for him. So that was actually 18 years ago. I left the Fortune 500 company. I opened my own financial services firm out of their umbrella. And I also opened marketdominationllc.com, the marketing firm we're here to talk about today.
I must say, listening to you, I can just reflect on, the horror that the wife might have been and just thinking that, hey, you're about to make a big bet. And if the bet goes, the other side, but, again, listening to you, we have talked before. And from the first time I talked with you, Seth, I recognize that you have tremendous passion for what you do. And I think that passion and that drive and that commitment certainly is something that sets you up for success. When you first started your business a little over 26 years ago, how has the public received your brand?
So I'd say very well. I mean, 26 years to be an overnight success, right? So I think it really well. I mean, obviously we've iterated, we've pivoted, we've changed how we present things. The world has changed. I mean, 26 years ago, there was no real internet or social media, right?
Yeah.
We didn't have a phone in our pocket. We had a landline that dialed rotary on the wall. So, I mean, the ways we have to communicate our marketing message and that for our clients has changed dramatically and obviously made our jobs much easier. I think I've been fortunate that I've done the work and put in the hours to attain some level of expertise and mastery over parts of my craft. And I think we've gotten really good at communicating both our message and our client's message to their ideal target market so that it gets received really well and makes the cash register ring.
I like the song of that, make the cash register ring. Let's talk a little bit about challenges, because I know starting a business can be an exciting moment. And I do believe that sometimes many rising stars in business believe it's a walk in the park. Your word, they believe it's going to be an overnight success. And my, it could be a journey. Talk to us a little bit about what challenges you encounter as a rising star in business. And I must say now a star in business.
Well, you're very kind. Thank you. And I certainly wasn't a star when I started. So I think, God, it's growing a business is starting and growing a business is really hard. You say exciting. I would also say terrifying. Because you're taking a risk, right? Even if it's a side hustle. So I think there is no greater lab for developing yourself as a person than trying to grow a business. I think it is the greatest personal development and spiritual development laboratory, because there are no highs greater than succeeding, and there are no lows lower than failing. You can have a great day one Monday and be on top of the world. In Wednesday, you can think you're going to go out of business. I've been there. So I think it's really all about working on your mindset, working on your personal development. You know, our business doesn't take off just because we invent some cool new marketing technology, which we do, but it takes off when I make an evolutionary, a spiritual leap as a person, as a leader, and I become a bigger vessel, and then the business fills that container. So if I were going to work on it, and I try and spend as much time as I possibly can working on myself, and then the business rises to meet me. So I think that's a secret to success a lot of people don't talk about. It's not all about the hustle and grind. It's about, if I work on myself and elevate myself, maybe I don't have to work 80 hours a week. So I think there's that. And I think we have had, the roller coaster, the ride continues. The journey never ends. I think there's always ups and downs, right?
Yeah.
I had last week, got an email from our accountant with our tax returns for 2024, and it was 400% more that they said I owed than I was prepared for.
Wow.
And I was not happy. And it was taking hours and hours and hours to go through thousands of transactions, to figure out what they had mislabeled incorrectly to get the tax return back to where I thought it was. But it just keeps coming, right? It's just how many times can you get hit and get back up determines, as long as you get back up one more time than you get hit, you'll end up being successful. It's only failure if you quit.
You know, you said something earlier on that I think is so powerful, and I think the average person take that for granted. You spoke about mindset. And I happen to agree with you 101%, because I would normally say that people can never grow beyond their sense of self. So if you are flowing in lack, if you're flowing in limitation, if you are projecting doubts to the things that you're doing, it's going to undermine your success itself. So I really love that you pointed out mindset. But Seth, I want you to talk to me a little bit more about your definition of mindset. When you say mindset, help the audience to understand what exactly you're talking about.
That's a great question. I think it's, and whatever your spiritual beliefs are, I'm not here to tell you anything different. Doesn't matter to me what you believe in, as long as you believe in something. And I think it's about the energy you're putting out to the universe, right? Which, when you're scared, when you're fear-based, when I was having a negative emotional reaction to that tax bill, that does not help you. You're holding up a sign to the universe 24 hours a day saying, I want more of this, whatever this is. So if you're in fear, scarcity, lack, and I've been there, you're putting out a sign saying, give me more of that. So I think the challenge in the struggle is how to, even when stuff comes at you, maintain that optimism, that hope, that positive mindset, so that you bounce back faster and you attract more of what you want into the world. If you spend all your time thinking about the gap, about what you don't have and what you don't want, that's what you're going to manifest.
I love that. Love that. Seth, I want us to shift gears a little bit. And I want us to talk about the fact that you've committed your time, you've committed your talent, and you've committed resources to build your story. And one of the accomplishments that you have under your belt is that you have successfully built a multiple seven-figure brand. Can you give us a sneak peek into what your blueprint looks like in terms of building that brand? Can you give us some of your stepping stones?
Absolutely. So I think that as entrepreneurs, as business owners, we think we have to do all the work ourselves. And I used to think the same thing. And I think that's a huge mistake. And there are shortcuts, right? Why climb the ladder of success if you could take the elevator? I think that's a title of a really good book. And I realized that somebody else else already has your perfect audience. Somebody else already has the clients, the customers, the prospects that you want, but they don't compete with you. So if you can build, I know we're going to talk about this later, if you can build relationships with those other people and get them to do the heavy lifting, you can, and in today's day and age of the social media, it's easier than ever. You can shortcut that path to success a lot faster than I did when I had to start. And the only way I knew in the beginning, before I ever met Dan Kennedy, the only thing I knew to get clients was to make cold calls out of the yellow pages to strangers and ask for money. I didn't think at the time, hey, somebody else already has the exact customers I want. I can just go get them to promote me and I'll get all my customers really fast and relatively inexpensively.
I really trust that the public is listening to what you're saying, because what you said, you spoke so fluently. I think it can get over so many persons' head. But just let me try to expand on what you would have said. I do believe the traditional person who is trying to build a business and trying to build a brand, they put a lot of emphasis on making the sale. And Seth, what you're saying is that while making the sale is important, you look beyond making that sale, and what you focus on is building healthy, productive relationship with the ideal client. Because in making and building relationships, you're not just making a sale, you're making a friend, and that's a friend that you're hoping to stay with you for a lifetime. So that's part of your strategy.
That is a great analogy. I love that. I have said to people, like when we've had campaigns as a marketing agency that failed, there have been times that I've written refund checks and given people money back. And they're like, I don't understand. No other marketing firm ever gave me money back. They just said, sorry, it didn't work. And I said, well, I think of you as a friend, not just as a client. I can always go get more clients. I can't just go make more friends. I'd rather give you money back and stay friends. And they're like, wow, I never thought about that. And then you get a lot more forgiveness and patience that way. And I've had clients who weren't happy that something didn't work. And then because of how we treated them, ended up becoming a raving fan or a referral source.
Wow. I love that strategy. And we have designed a program and we call that particular element relationship marketing, because I do believe that when you put the emphasis on relationship, you got a lot of magic in your hands. So Chris, I really love that. Thanks for sharing that. Chris, we know that you've been in business for a little over 26 years, but talk to us a little bit about the timeline. How long did it take you to reach that 7-figure income?
That is a great question. I'm actually going to go pull our revenue numbers. Give me 2 seconds, and I'm going to go find it and tell you exactly how long it took us. Give me 2 seconds. I mean, the first year that I started, I made $3,000.
No, I'm glad you said that, because of that people believe that, hey, you're going to make that breakthrough right away, but it's a process.
No, I was wrong. I made $6,730 my first year. It took me 4 years to break 100,000. Then it took another 10 to break $1 million. So let's say 12 years to break our first $1 million.
12 years.
And thankfully, we haven't gone backwards.
But congratulations on that. Congratulations. And I really love that you said it, the way you said it, because I believe that very often that many rising stars in business, they give up too early. Just as about they're about to hit that wall down to make that, for a 7-figure, they give up. For you, it was 12 years, but you didn't give up, and you continue to build and build and build on that success. So I want to say that definitely speaks to commitment, patience, resilience, and also a clear focus of what you want to accomplish, why, and how to accomplish. And you stuck with it. You stood with it until you realized that dream. Congratulations, my friend.
Thank you. I mean, I remember the first year I started, I was drinking Carnation instant breakfast for breakfast and lunch, not because I was trying to lose weight, because it was the cheapest thing I could buy in the grocery store, and I didn't have any money.
I know you gave us a hint on team early on, is that if you can get someone else to get the job done for you and get them to do it. I believe in the power of delegation. But talk to us a little bit, Seth, about how important do you see team dynamics in building and growing and expanding the vision? How important is having the right team players and a team to move your vision forward?
I wish one of the things that if I could go back and if I could have done differently is I would have hired other people sooner. I didn't build a team earlier because I mistakenly thought I couldn't afford afford it and I needed to do everything myself. And looking back, I wish I had hired sooner, and I wish I had built systems for other people to run our services without me so I didn't have to do it back in the beginning. Because when I first started hiring people, I mean, everything was in my head, right? How do you tell someone what to do all day when it's all stuck in your head? So one, I think hire as soon as you can, and build a system for that person to run so that you don't have to do something, so that you can focus on higher level things. And then I think the team dynamics are incredibly important, right? We've all worked probably at places where we hated where we worked, or we hated our boss, or there were those, they're now called toxic employees that you're like, oh my God, I don't want to talk to Susie, or I don't want to talk to Brad. And so the beauty as a business owner is you get to build that, right? I think our client base and our team are reflections of who we are. We attract what we are like. So who do you want to intentionally be will help you attract the right team. Like my wife likes to joke that spiritually she's a dog and I'm a cat, right? And she says a lot of 80% of the people who work at my company are women. And she's like, they're all cats. You surrounded yourself with cats. And I would relate better to dogs. And I'm like, well, you don't work here. You don't work in the office all day. So it doesn't really matter. But she's right in terms of how she describes people's personality.
Interesting analogy. Can we talk now a little bit about marketing domination? One comes to marketing domination. Can you give us a menu of services that they can expect?
I could, but it would take the entire rest of the time. So
well, at least give us a few.
Yeah. So we have two divisions, one of which is a direct response marketing agency that runs traffic and conversion. And by that, I mean we run traffic as in paid advertising, either online or direct mail, and we drive them to a website or what we would call a marketing funnel to get them to convert and either fill our clients' calendars or make their cash register ring. So that's traffic and conversion. And there's a whole bunch of different services that fall under that, everything from Facebook ads to TikTok to YouTube and direct mail and everything else. Then our other division is our podcasting and publishing division. And there, our claim to fame is that we will either get your top 50 clients, if you have 50, to start referring to you every single week, or we'll go recruit you 50 affiliates or joint venture partners who will promote your brand or your offer 50 weeks in a row.
Interesting. Can we talk about the first project area of your business? Can you just give us a little insight in terms of how it works? Because why I'm asking this set is that, yes, you may have an email list, but how difficult it is for you and your team to identify who may be ideal consumer, the ideal client for the particular client that you are trying to push content out for. How do you create that alignment?
So
is there market research done before? Just to help the public to understand your method.
Research,
not all of your secrets though, right?
Not all of them. Our research is a huge part of what we do. The beauty of the world that we live in right now with social media is that there is no privacy. I can find out anything on anybody up to what you had for lunch yesterday. And all of that data is for sale. So it makes it a lot easier to build a precise client avatar of who you're trying to market your services to. And it's easier to reach those people than it's ever been before. I mean, we live in such an amazing world with all of the technology we've got. It's never been easier to start and grow a business than it is today.
Yeah. You know, Seth, I really, the work that you're doing, I can share with you some of my experiences in working with businesses. One, they start a business. And two, they have the falsified notion that everyone is their consumers. And I would say that's the biggest misconception that you can have. So we now go into specific demographic targeting, and then you now have to break that up. You know, you have to break that up into affluent, into middle class, into average. And I find many rising stars in business, they struggle at this particular point. I don't know if this is your experience, but many businesses fail, not necessarily because they have a bad product or a bad service, but they fail because they're not able to position their value offer in front of the ideal client. Does that ring a bell to you as you interface with your community?
100%. I will tell you 50%, and we've actually got we've seen the research to back this up. 50% of the success or failure of any marketing campaign or any business for that matter is due to one factor, and it's the proper selection of a laser focused micro niche specific target market. If you think, oh, I'm everything to everybody, you're going to be nothing to nobody. I'll give you a quick example. I had a dentist come into our office, and I said, the first question I ask in any marketing consultation is, who's your ideal client? And he says, oh, that's easy. Anybody with teeth. And I laughed. And I said, you can't afford to reach everybody with teeth, and not all of them can afford you, and you don't want all of them as patients.
Exactly. Oh my, that's interesting. So I do believe that your skill set more and more is so vital and is so necessary to the rising star in business. Said some of the other things that we see is that many rising stars may even start a business without taking the time to identify not only who is the ideal client, but the size of the market. Because from the size, you get to assess the market viability. They don't have a clue how viable the market is. Because what we have seen sometimes, what happens, persons select areas of doing business that when you do the full analysis, it doesn't make sense to be in that particular field. But they don't know because they haven't done the things that you're prepared to help them to do. So I really know for a fact that the role that Marketing Domination LLC has set out to do can bring tremendous impact to the business community.
Well, thank you. I would agree 100%. And I think that it's really about thinking about who you want to serve, who's the ideal client that you want to get in front of. And I think we could have a whole couple hour conversation just on the ability of, in today's day and age, to do really, really specific target marketing. And you want to make sure that you go after the right people with the right message at the right time.
And you're correct, because I think it's very easy to say this is the ideal client, but then there's so many other moving parts that one has to go into to really pre-qualify and qualify that client as your client. And just let me give you some of the things that we have seen. One might want to say, hey, the ideal client is the client that has the ability to pay. That is good. But having the ability to pay does not necessitate the willingness to pay. And even at times when you may have a fair degree of willingness to pay, buying from you may be the biggest obstacle because you're not known, you're not liked, you're not trusted, you haven't established confidence, trust, and credibility in the minds of the buyer. And of course, if you're targeting the affluent market, they are not buying because they want to buy. They're buying for security, for comfort, and they have all of these other things that they're buying for, and they have choice. So you're perfectly correct. There's so many moving parts that one has to consider, even after you said this is the ideal client. A lot of deep dive in. So I know the work that you do, and I want to say kudos, to the hard work that you're doing. Can we talk a little bit about the success of your method? And I say this against the backdrop. I'm fully aware that as a professional in your field, the success of what you're doing is not only based on you. It depends on the mindset of the client. It depends on the willingness of the client to also step up and reach you halfway. And I'm saying this against the backdrop. You may have a very good method, but sometimes you find the client, they have a mindset of dependency. They have a mindset of not wanting to make the necessary investment to move the vision forward. And you have all of these dynamics to deal with that affects how you want to work to optimize the client's success. So on a scale of 1 to 10, as you implement your program, what level of results you're able to attain, taking all of those dynamics into consideration?
11. So
I like that vote of confidence, man.
all of that.
That means you select your clients very carefully.
We do, although we still every once in a while one slips through the cracks that we should have screened better. So yeah. I think all of those come to play. I literally we turn away business because if someone comes to us and says, hey, I don't think this is going to work, but I want to try it, I will say, keep your money. Because if you're coming into it with a negative, a scarcity, a fear-based mindset, we can do the greatest marketing in the world and it won't work because you will prevent the universe from letting it work. I need someone who is just as excited about what we're doing as we are, and then magic happens.
I love it. I can tell that you're a man of great experience and great wisdom. I love that. Chris, Seth, can we talk about you are an author. You're a best-selling author. Can we talk a little bit about your book?
Absolutely. The book is the ninth. This is my ninth best-selling book, thankfully. The book is The Ultimate Guide to Growing Your Podcast Business with a Podcast: How to Turn Warm, Fuzzy Feelings into Cold,
Yeah.
Hard Cash. And
Wow.
it is literally our step-by-step process of how we use a podcast as a way to get other people to promote our business to their customers so that we can have them do our marketing for us.
I love that. I love that. Man, you have a lot going on. I'm happy that you have, you're an author, and that's something else that we have in common. We have a lot of talking yet to do, but I'm happy that we have at least started the conversation. Talk to us a little bit about your short-term vision for Market Domination LLC.
My short-term vision, if we're talking 2025, is we're looking to pretty much double the business in the rest of the year. And then we want to have 10x in the next 10 years.
In the next 10 years. We're about to wrap up, but before we wrap up, there's a couple of questions I want us to look at, particularly so in terms of the expansion of your business. I do believe that there are three factors that is vital to expanding your vision. So can we take those three factors step by step and look at them? How important is human resources to the expansion of your vision?
Can't do it without it, right? I need the people. We're hiring right now. I always need more talented people who get our vision and are willing to work to make that happen.
Great. Awesome. Now let's talk a little bit about technical resources, and then we're going to talk a little bit about capital resources. In today's day and age with business, there are a lot of technologies that are available. How relevant is modern technology to helping you to scale your business? And just let me give one example of this. I'm quite certain that you, with your book and all of that, you are doing some lectures. And what I find sometimes that happens is that it is hard for you to duplicate yourself in front of 20, 40, 50 different persons individually. So what I see, you're now able to do is to digitize your processes, and then you use a digital platform by which hundreds and thousands of persons can get access to your information. Just an example. Are you using technology in the growth and expansion of your brand?
Every single day, because technology has made it easier for us to reach more of the right people more often, really inexpensively, right? We've got millions of downloads on our podcast. I never would have been able to been in front of millions of people. Like, it's the technology that makes that all happen. So 100%.
Awesome. And the last bit of it has to do with capital. I've seen many great ideas fall through the crack, not because those ideas are bad, but even in America, we see many persons still struggle to access capital to move that vision forward. How important is capital in the scale of your vision, in that whole ecosystem of your vision to scale your business up?
Takes money to make money, right? So you've got one of two things, right? You either have money, but you don't have enough time, and you can use money to pay other people to do the things, or you're starting out and you got lots of time, but you got no money, which means you got to do the work and put in the hours to make the money to hire the other people. It's a mix of both.
Got you. Well, Chris, that's about the last question. We have a lot to talk about. Part of what we do in 50 states in America, we help businesses, to access capital. So whether you're looking for debt, equity, credit, creative financing, or hard money lending, we provide that type of support to businesses. But I want to give you the last word, Seth. There might have been something that you'd want to say, and perhaps I didn't ask you that. I want to give you the chance to say what you have in mind if I didn't ask you that question, or forever hold your peace.
Well, thank you for that. In that case, am I allowed to tell your listeners where they can go to get my book?
Yes, go right ahead, Seth.
If you want a copy of The Ultimate Guide to Growing Your Business with a Podcast, podcast at 33% off the Amazon price. Go to ultimatepodcastbook.com. That is specific for Seven Figure Media. Go to ultimatepodcastbook.com. Grab a physical copy of this for third off the Amazon price. I promise it'll be the best $15 you ever spend.
Awesome. Well, there you had it. We had a pretty interesting conversation with Seth. And as I said, he's an exceptional, talented person. He's an author. He has built a multiple seven-figure brand. And he has a heart of gold. He wants to help, so many persons around the world, so many persons in the US. Let's start with the US to really optimize their business success. So if you have a business and you're definitely looking to grow and scale, you know where to turn to. Dominant Marketing Domination LLC. Seth, great talking with you, my brother.
Gary, this was a lot of fun. Thanks so much for having me.
The pleasure is all mine.